Think it's about time we had a little chat. So every now and then I keep getting frustrated at this particular saying, and I'm not quite happy at the fact that all the guys are getting all of this hassle, all of this resentment. Because at the end of the day, both sexes are having this issue. At the end of the day, this society is built upon feeding your negative belief systems, feeding your negative desires when it comes to lust and sexual pleasures. Yes, I'm going there. Because in this video, what I want to be talking about is something I like to call the second spatial awareness. Because a lot of the people within my household, a lot of the people tend to have conversations where, say for example, one of my brothers will be on TV. No, not on TV, he'll be watching TV. And then he'll be flicking over and he'll be watching music channels, right? Music channels. And he'll be watching people who are pretty much barely clothed. They're pretty much naked on TV, right? And then he'll come up with these ridiculously, annoyingly lustful comments. Which are annoying because from where I'm standing, I can tell that he's upside down, okay? Because a lot of the time, women like to say, your brain's always in your... And I completely agree with them. However, that doesn't exclude them, because a lot of the time when I'm making these videos, or I'll be on the street or we're walking around, because I'm collectively connected with literally everyone, I can tell when an individual, female or male, is sexually frustrated, and I can tell when they're pretty much gagging for it, right? Now the problem is when everyone's buying into the TV, when everyone's buying into all these belief systems that they have to have sex on a repeatedly, daily schedule, like if they haven't had sex within the week or the month, like they're going to be like taking the mick out of, right? And what's actually happening there is that there's literally nothing wrong if you're not sexually active, okay? Because in a society built around sex, a lot of people are behaving based upon their external information, based upon their external sources, which is a problem, because if you've got somebody or a group of individuals or a group of people controlling your external reality, you're pretty much screwed. Because if someone who's controlling that external reality wants you to feel frustrated, wants you to have these belief systems, which makes you crave and have these urges for these sexual lustful activities, then you're pretty much not living your life. Because you're living a life based upon somebody else's blueprint, based upon somebody else's plans for you in order to stop you from being upright, being more aware of how things actually are. Now, a lot of people out there are becoming upright. A lot of people out there are becoming more aware. A lot of people are actually seeing how the external reality is actually impacting their own thoughts and their own belief systems, and it's actually choosing the thoughts for them if they're unconscious, and they're actually making the decisions to change that in the present moment, which is great. It's 100% great. I've actually had this situation play out when I was in school, when I was a teenager, right? When I was like 16, we were just about leaving school, and all the people in my class were all very sexually active, right? They were pretty much gagging for it, right? And they were completely tuned into music, lyrics saying over and over again to do this, do that, and they eventually tuned in or turned into whatever they were tuned into. When it came to what it was they were listening, when it came to what it was they were seeing, the magazines that they were seeing, they were completely unconscious of the fact that their mental thought patterns were being controlled by the external world, right? This is the issues of being unconscious, one of the issues of being unconscious within this collective society, especially if you're not in control, okay? And I often ended up sitting there and say I haven't had sex within like 2-3 weeks. And everyone in the table will be sat there like, oh, I had it just last night. Or, what did you do on the weekend? Especially on like the Sundays. And they come back in their same clothes. And they're like, oh, what did you do on the weekend? And I'm like, I stayed at home and meditated. Hey, I did a bit of yoga. And they would be freaked out at the fact that I hadn't had it in like such a long period of time. When really, from somebody who's conscious, from somebody who's upright, from somebody who's not acting upon the external realities around them, it's very weird to see people who are constantly this sexually frustrated, and I believe that it's very unnatural to be having sex once a night, once every week, or once every 2 weeks, or even further than that. You be the judge, but the fact of the matter is when you're upright, when you're not behaving the way that society is trying to force you to behave into that particular pattern of see and do, what happens is you don't need it so much because your awareness is no longer downstairs. Okay, this goes for both sexes. It's no longer downstairs. And what happens is your awareness tends to lift up. It tends to go to maybe your stomach. Maybe you'll end up just wanting to eat everything in the house, right? Maybe you get these urges that say, hey, eat that because you're hungry. Or maybe you start seeing things on TV and then you want to go and buy a McDonald's. Well, that's to do with that third chakra, which I will be talking about, or that third spatial awareness, which I'll be talking about. Also within this spatial awareness, which is the second one, there are two sides to a spatial point. There are two different types of informations which can be coupled or which can be pushed out within that spatial awareness point, depending on how you're perceiving your reality or your experiences whilst you're going through this stage of awareness, which most people go through when they're 16 or 15, okay? Now, you have the negative aspects of this kind of second chakra issues, which will deal with pornography, which will deal with false belief systems or what you think you need to do, which will often have you behaving or doing things which then afterwards make you think, why did I just do that? And you'll feel very bad and you have a gut feeling that you shouldn't have done that, period. Okay, everyone's been there. You'll end up building your mentality or getting this energy, it sticks. You'll end up not being able to like forgive yourself for things that you've done in the past based upon these negative experiences which were based upon false belief systems which were crammed into your head. They didn't even spawn from you for starters, right? So if these negative belief systems didn't come from you in the first place, then does it really matter? You're literally just being a result of 3D. It's like when you dream, you're a result of your dream surroundings. So you also have the positive aspects of the second chakra. Now, this is when you really get into what people call healing, or what I like to call making sense of. Because when you make sense of how you should be behaving, or how that spatial awareness point should be balanced and should be behaving, when you get the yang or the yin side balanced out or sorted out or corrected when it comes to the negative and the positive aspects of the second chakra, what happens is you end up becoming human, but on a clean level. Okay, now what I'm saying this is, I don't watch pornography. I think it's disgusting, alright? I think, because I'm operating from such a high perspective, I literally see pornographic images and think animal. I just think there's a couple of animals on screen having sex. So much so that my body doesn't even respond to it. Period. Now, the problem is with pornography, and when people watch pornography, and I've seen this in my childhood, watching some of my friends watch pornography and seeing their mentality change towards how they view women and how they view sex in the first place. If you were to sit there and you were to tell your best friend, hey, I made love last night. it was the best love in the world. I loved it so much. Hey, afterwards, we stared at each other for about 2 hours. Didn't even say anything. It was amazing. They'll probably look at you like you're nuts, right? Because all they're thinking of is on that weekend, on that Friday night, they plowed into their girlfriend like they saw on the pornography channel that they watched moments before they had sex. Maybe even during they were having sex. Maybe most people do that. I'm pretty sure most people do that. Seems to be widely accepted that couples watch pornography nowadays. That's when you've really forsaken your true nature, because when it comes to the sexual chakra, when it comes to the second chakra, that's to do with life, reproduction. That's to do with creating a mini you, a mini me, and then giving that person, giving that child an upbringing where they're not making the same mistakes that you made, but they're also being embraced in their own talents in order to become their best version of themselves. So it's like you're giving away all your best attributes to your child, whilst at the same time making them grow in their own development skills that they're already good at, such as art, poetry, you name it, whatever it is that they're naturally talented at, and you just watch them grow. Now at this point in parenthood, you should be well adversed with indirect communication. This means you do not tell your child not to smoke because they would smoke. Okay, you need to show them without actually telling them, right? You need to get up your computer, sit in a room where they're sat, then get up cancer or get up something to do when it comes to these people doing this sort of stuff for themselves, because they're not really in control of their habits, they're not really in control of their addictions, because they've just become victim to a society that craves or that forces upon people their negative attributes when it comes to their cravings to food, their cravings to sexual lustful desires, and then you've got gluttony and lust, which is just completely ruining people's lives, and they're unconscious, so they can't even see it for starters, and they're wondering why their life's such a mess. Now you see this play out in perfect societies, and societies that aren't so materialistic or aren't so buried into their technology and their advances when it comes to how easily they're able to spread a state of consciousness through videos or through any kind of media such as newspapers or the news on TV. Okay, and you'll see these communities just literally full of love, and you can tell when they're in love with their spouse or with their third dimensional partner that they're enjoying it a lot. They're enjoying what it feels like to be human. I'm not saying you shouldn't be in that awareness, that second facial awareness, like, you know, that organ. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm saying it's a beautiful thing. It's a divine thing because it reflects your ability to co-create within the third dimension, to bring forth a life, to create a vessel for your son or daughter is a beautiful thing. But when it's done in the wrong way, when it's done off false belief systems based upon your external reality, then it can often end up making disasters, because you could end up teaching your child that, you can end up passing it on, you could end up thinking it's okay that your child watches this stuff. It's really not okay. It's incredibly besides the point. The more somebody's watching these things and buying into these negative aspects of the collective consciousness, these negative belief systems, the more pain they're going to suffer, because the less they're going to feel like they can express themselves and their truth when it comes to what they should be thinking or doing when it comes to that particular type of act. Okay, now Valentine's Day has just passed. Now most of my brothers, they don't all live in their house, but most of them do, and on these specific occasions they all came down and they all had the same things. They all were wearing pretty much the similar clothes, and they were all wearing cologne. They were all carrying a bouquet of roses, and they all had chocolates at some point and a bottle of wine. Each of them, okay? Now, literally like this. Same situation, different faces. Same energy, different faces. I've said this before. If you constantly rely on what you're looking at, you blind yourself of a new reality, or you blind yourself of being able to perceive reality from a new perspective, right? Because it's pretty much like this. I was looking at 4 of them, but I was only seeing one. And that one was being channeled by what they were seeing on their external. You know, the adverts where they say, it's Valentine's Day, buy your lover some roses. And all these chocolates and all these wines, and especially their experiences growing up seeing their parents doing the same thing. What I'm saying is, there's a lot of people, when they buy into these occasions, they tend to willingly accept any type of behavior based upon what they're seeing other people do within these occasions. It's like they're accepting or giving away their free will when it comes to them choosing to decide how it is they should actually go about this experience, especially when they're unconscious. Now, I'm conscious when it comes to these collective, I guess you can say, celebrations and what's to come. Like Christmas, everyone on Christmas is buying presents either because before they're buying the presents, they're saying to everyone, hey, look, there's a budget. I don't want to go over the budget because I don't want to seem as if I'm cheap. Well, you know, they say, okay, hey, look, it's Christmas. Is everyone buying a present? Because if I miss one person out, there's going to be hell to pay. And that's often what it's like at my household, especially last year. I don't buy presents. I've made it very obvious I don't buy presents, and I've actually gotten out of that time gap. I've not given people presents for such a long period of time. Now people don't expect it. But if, say, for example, my brother, he buys everyone a present and one person gets missed out, or maybe just for 1 year he decides not to get any presents, there's hell to pay in my house, right? Everything just goes mad, okay? How many people do you reckon has experienced that? A lot of people. And it's all coming from pretty much one place, which is the collective, what I like to call the ether and net. Now, suspend your belief and check out my video on how to, I think I posted what's the Akashic Records. I basically tell how people aren't actually in control of their single thoughts. They think they are, but really they're just taking it from the collective. If you've ever had an idea and you've seen it pop up on TV, that in itself is a synchronistic moment, because it's showing you right there that your consciousness isn't just in your own head, it's everywhere. And if you're going through the progressional period of seeing these different types or perspectives of how you can view your reality or your experience, then you've probably already experienced that, and that is how you gain the knowledge through your experience, which is great. But to fix these issues, it's pretty self-explanatory. Stay away from the external, dive in deep to the internal, find your belief systems as to why it is you're behaving in a particular way, and erase them because they've come from the external, especially if you're unconscious. And the second chakra is very, very, very explosive. It's very powerful. And if you don't clean it, if you don't adjust it, if you don't tune it up, if you don't clear that point of space, you're going to end up falling into the same types of relationships where you get hurt. You're going to get treated by the same types of people the same way they've been treating you every time when it comes to any sort of act, when it comes to love or sexual activities or anything to do with that kind of orifice when it comes to people being upside down, okay? When you start changing your belief systems, you start behaving differently, and those belief systems will be stored in that area because as that energy comes out, it then goes around the template, the bioelectrical template, which makes you think in a certain type of thinking pattern, and it picks up these degrees of information through your experiences, and it creates your thought patterns before you've even gotten to the main one. It's like it's constantly creating it and weaving your thought patterns, weaving your future before it's even come to your perceptual awareness. And it all stems from the base, or from that sexual awareness point when it comes to these specific experiences throughout your life. So I'm Ryan JC, I hope this helped. This has been to do with the second spatial awareness, as I like to call it. Like I've said in my last videos, there's many spatial awareness points which actually deal with your external reality. You can hinder them and damage them by being unconscious and growing, and as you grow, and your spatial awareness points within your body become activated throughout your childhood, especially when you're younger. It comes from the base chakra, then you get to around about 16 to 15, you get to the sexual chakra, which is the second chakra, and based upon the negative experiences around you that would actually clutter it up like a filter, ruin that kind of lens when it comes to you embracing that energy the correct way as it should be. And it can end up impacting your present moment if you don't know how to go back and change your perception on those memories or experiences, which will then hinder or greatly decrease your experiences when it comes to having happily enjoyed love, real love experiences when it comes to that kind of area in the near future. So I'm Ryan JC, I hope this helped, and I'll speak to you guys pretty soon.
So out of all of the sporting moments, what was your greatest, do you think? Do you ever think about those, or do you not really?
Honestly, man, behind the veil, behind the mask, I'm really different than my public persona. My public persona is prime time, you know.
Was it really different from that then?
Oh, totally different. It was like acting. That's what it was.
So even like when you won the Super Bowl and stuff?
When I won the Super Bowl, when I won my first Super Bowl.
What did you do?
I was the first one on the bus, first one to bed. I didn't even go to party. It was something missing inside, man. It wasn't fulfilling as I thought it was. And it wasn't about the things, the outward things, because I had power, money, and sex, but it wasn't fulfilling.
So you had all of that power, money,
and sex,
and it was empty.
It's an empty feeling still empty.
So what happened?
That's when I went through my first divorce, in which the only things that I knew that truly loved me were my two kids. Now they're gone. Now they've been taken away.
Because you lost custody of your kids.
It was devastating, and I went through suicidal thoughts, a suicidal period. I ran this car off the side of the highway, and it was at the bottom. I thought the car would flip, it did flip, and I was still there. And I was like, man. Shortly after that, I had to just come to the Lord with my hands up, say, I'm done. I can't do it anymore. You got me. I give up. God, you take me.
So like all of that power, money, sex didn't give you what your faith has.
Emptiness.
There's a great power to being able to achieve amazing things and yet hold them so lightly because you have something far more precious.
That's it.
And you know, we share a faith together. You know, it's like a backbone to me as well. And it's like all the achievements and the summits, and they're nothing compared to, you know, that's something inside. And I totally see it in you.
I stayed strong, and I never questioned God. And I won custody.
So you won custody?
Yeah, I won custody of all my babies. And I'm happy. You know, I pride myself on being the best dad in the world, man. I know all their shoe sizes, all their clothes sizes, the teachers. I know how to braid my daughter's hair. It has to be something bigger than you that you're working for, that you're living for. If it's all about you, you've already lost.